want to first of all commend you for this meeting, but I think you need to have more meetings in the area like you did in Biloxi, in Plaquemine Parish, because the people there have the fear, the anxiety to say, and a lot of them wasn't going to travel here. We was going to Homer over the last few days with our local fishermen, and they were trying to force us to go there and get training, and after our officials got together, practically cursed and demand that DP do something. On yesterday, they decided to do the training in Plaquemine Parish, and close to 400 fishermen came out because the local fishermen are very concerned. So I just hope that this meeting is great here in New Orleans, but I hope that you come to Plaquemine Parish, go to like you did in Mississippi, because those folks there we have some serious concern. The fishermen really have some great ideas, and I want to piggyback in terms of having some social service thing here with EPA, because in this state, I'm still leery about EPA because the history of EPA in the state of Louisiana, they sleep with their own industry. So we still have some ambivalence about EPA. And so, but I'm just saying that we got to give you the benefit of the doubt. And so we hope that you really look at that, because history has shown that, because in St. Bernard Parish, immediately after Katrina, EPA said it should be closed down. 2 days later, they came back and said it should be open. We questioned who made that decision and why the decision was made. But one said, yeah, in 2 days you can change. So we want to commend you for what you're doing, but we hope that your local office will come to Plaquemine Parish and have more meetings, because we have a lot of anxiety there right now among our fishermen. Again, but thank you for coming.
Who's one of my counterparts, National Oceanographic Atmospheric Administration, NOAA, was in Plaquemine yesterday evening. That's why I didn't go, because we sort of split up. She told me I just got off the phone with her. She said she had hundreds of fishermen and strippers, and it was I told her it was like we had the same meeting. Hers was in Plaquemine, mine was in Mississippi. Because folks, this is the wind. It's just like a hurricane. Depending on how the wind goes, it could be our neighbors to the east, it could be our neighbors to the north of you in St. Bernard, it could be Plaquemines. Right now they're talking about maybe St. Bernard getting some of the brunt too, right? What's washing up now, it's already started, is on the barrier islands out there, and it is sheen, but there is more dense material. So I just want to ask you to elaborate for the crowd and for me on, and I think I'm going to Plaquemines after this, by the way, more to meet with the president and the EOM, but I wanted to come here first. What did they tell? So it's good to know that the training's been moved. That was one of the things we were talking to BP about, move the training out to where people are. What did they tell you about how you would be used? Are they staging boom? What has been done on that level?
The local fishermen have already taken a position. If you're going to protect the areas, you not only large 12-feet vessels, you need the small ones to come in it. So hopefully now they're going to allow the local fishermen to actually employ them. And so the fishermen are excited because they was coming in and getting involved to do it without any money. Because remember, even if you look at somebody from the sheriff department in Plaquemine, if they work for the parish government, their livelihood is seafood. And so this is personal to us. And so we think we're at the level now that they're going to allow the local fishermen to go out and set booms and other contractions in the places where they need. We finally got them on yesterday after set up shop, and I think they're getting ready to put more shop in Plaquemine Parish to begin to do some work. So we're going to need your involvement.
Okay, and all I want to say about that is none of that happened by accident. I know everybody's mad, but when you get a victory, that is huge. And that's people like me and Al and Noah and Coast Guard who said to BP, and we said it yesterday, get out and hire the locals, because they know what the hell's happening on the ground.
Hi, I'm Yumika Russian with Oxfam America. And undoubtedly the devastation caused by the oil spill has and will take a toll on everyone, but often the most affected and the least able to recover are the poorest communities. And we're wondering if there are any specific plans in place to meet the particular needs of these coastal communities who are really experiencing a double whammy in the aftermath of Katrina.
If I have to, you have an incident, you have a rescue phase, these aren't all separate. Now we're into the response phase, and when it's over or stabilized, then you start talking about recovery. I think what I'm trying to do is figure out how we make sure the community is in the response phase, because the recovery phase will be different again. And I'm still hopeful. I want to say this. I am still hopeful that it will be a small recovery phase, that the efforts we make in the response phase make the recovery needs less instead of greater. And one of the ways you do that is you hire people who now can't work because of this oil spill to help deal with the oil spill.
I just want to raise an issue that's somewhat specific because a large number of the fishermen are Vietnamese Americans, and a large number of them do not speak English so well. If you could imagine all of the fishermen being so concerned about their livelihood, how much more so when these individuals could not understand what's going on. My request, so that the situation like Katrina would not happen again in the sense that I would ask the EPA to reach out in terms of language access to those individuals to help them understand the situation, so ease their fear. And we at the Community Development Corporation in New Orleans East stand ready to offer any assistance that we can. We are willing to do that. We have a good relationship with Region 6 at this point, so whatever you need us to do, we can do that.
I'm Aaron Miles with the Gulf Restoration Network, and we've done some independent monitoring. We've done a couple flyovers. We've been out and about, and I guess what I would caution is that it seems like the information we're getting kind of officially isn't matching up with what we're seeing. You know, we're hearing all these great stories about how many people are being mobilized, and boats are being mobilized early on. And in our two flyovers of the spill in the Sheen, there was no skimming happening. There was no real active booming going on out there at the spill surface. So I'm worried that there's a lot of spinning happening, and I'm worried that kind of BP's efforts to, somebody said justifiably minimize their expense here are hampering our ability to know what's really happening. And so, we heard, oh no, there's no leak, as you said before. Oh, it's a little leak. Oh, it's not as bad as NOAA thinks it is. And I've heard that there was a back and forth within the command center for a couple of days where NOAA said, no, we think it's worse. But what actually came out was BP's estimate. So we need to make sure the federal government is doing all the math and checking on BP. And clearly we don't want them off the hook. We shouldn't spend a dime ever, eventually, right? We want it all to be reimbursed. But we want to make sure they're not going to come in that room at all, and that the actual information is the real information. So I guess that's my one challenge to you guys.
Okay, thanks, Aaron. I would, my response to that would be, yeah. I'm trying to think where to start. You'll never hear me saying that I think that any organization that's facing the liability that BP clearly faces now realizes that on day one. I think that was their mistake as much as anyone else's, that they thought, and I think it probably was an honest mistake. I have no reason to believe it, that they thought they had this thing covered. Okay, we're all sitting here today because, no, they didn't. I can tell you, because I was in the command center yesterday, I can tell you because of the calls and briefings I've had with the president, that no one in the federal government, and I can't speak for other governments, but I'm sure they'd say the same, at this point is operating on the idea that BP is in control. BP is under the direction of the federal government. And we are trying to balance the needs of many jurisdictions, 4 different states potentially, and numerous parishes and counties and municipalities and communities. My thing is, let's hear from communities who might not feel like their voice is being heard. That's why I'm here, to make sure all those needs are being balanced and trying to come up with the best response we can. And I can tell you, when I did the flyover yesterday, I saw boom. Boom is not deployed. I am not a boomer. But as I understand it, boom is best deployed close to shore in the shallow waters where it's not going to be susceptible to the kind of currents you can clearly see out there on the water. So it's not surprising that you don't see tons and tons of it. The boom I saw had brakes in places. That's not surprising either. I dredged 2-3 times the St. Lawrence Seaway. Every time we put boom out, it broke. We got to the point where we finally gave up on the boom and we put in a cofferdam, because boom it breaks. It can break. It can be a great, it's like a speed bump. It can slow it down. If you have 2 layers, you might even be able to contain it. The more you have, but there's a limited supply. I think they've been staging boom all over, and it sounds like that they're also starting to do that, which anybody would hope, which is using locals to tell them where to put it. we need to make sure they continue to do that and not just in Plaquemines. That was what the people in Mississippi said to me last night.